You've been the person everyone could call at any hour. The one who always listens, always shows up, always fixes what others break. You learned to measure your worth by how useful you could be, by how much of yourself you could give before collapsing. It looked like kindness, and it was. But somewhere along the way, kindness turned into currency. You gave and gave until the sound of your own name felt heavy. Your phone lighting up used to mean connection. Now it feels like a small alarm. And when you try to rest, guilt whispers that you're falling behind, that someone might need you. Jung said that what we call love often hides the need to be needed. That's how you lose yourself. Slowly, politely. Until one morning you wake and realize your energy has become public property. You've been so available that no one wonders what it costs you. But you do. You feel it in your chest, in your silence, in the resentment you pretend isn't there. If this sounds like you, stay. Because this isn't a story about walking away from people. It's about finally walking back toward yourself. You tell yourself it's love, it's loyalty, it's who you are. But deep down, you know it's also fear. The fear of disappointing someone, of being forgotten, of no longer being needed. You grew up believing that presence was proof of worth. To be loved, you must be reachable. So you trained yourself never to let a call go unanswered, to sense others' discomfort before they even spoke. You became fluent in anticipation, finishing sentences, fixing moods, filling silences before they turned into rejection. People said you had a good heart, but they never noticed how much of it was gone by the end of each day. And in return, you were rewarded affection, gratitude, belonging. Yet beneath it all, something in you began to starve. Jung said that the psyche operates on energy, just as the body operates on blood. Every yes you force against your own will is a small wound in that circulation. You can't see it, but you feel it. The slow leak of vitality after every conversation that drains you. Every promise you couldn't say no to. Every smile that hides fatigue. You start mistaking depletion for duty, exhaustion for purpose. You walk into a room already calculating how much of yourself you'll need to give to keep it peaceful. You don't notice how your breathing shortens when someone needs you, or how your voice rises half an octave when you say, "It's fine, really." It's not fine. It's survival. Until one morning, your body betrays your politeness. You wake up and feel nothing but resistance, not toward others, but toward the role itself. The role of the helper, the listener, the endlessly available. You realize that even your silence has become service. That's the invisible drain. Not the things you do, but the energy you lose pretending it doesn't cost you anything. And if you've ever felt that exhaustion, the quiet kind that no one sees, this space is for you. Subscribe, stay with me, and let's go deeper into what truly happens when you finally stop feeding everyone else's peace at the expense of your own. When you give endlessly, people start mistaking your generosity for a guarantee. They stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a pattern, predictable, accessible, safe. Jung warned that what we don't make conscious will rule us from the shadows, and this is where the manipulation begins. Not always cruel, not always intentional. Often it's quiet, dressed in affection, disguised as need. Someone sighs, and you rush to fix it. Someone withdraws, and you over-explain. They learn the rhythm. If they pull away, you come closer. If they go silent, you panic. And soon, your availability becomes the stage where others exert their power. They don't have to demand, you anticipate. They don't have to control, you offer. This is projection at work. Their hidden hunger meets your unhealed need to be chosen. You think you're rescuing them, But really, you're rescuing the part of yourself that was once unseen, and they sense it. Manipulators don't need to dominate. They just need you to keep reacting the same way. Every apology you didn't owe, every explanation that fell on deaf ears, every attempt to prove your goodness, it was all fuel. The cruel truth is that when you're always available, people never have to value your presence. They only learn to depend on it. But here's the awakening. The moment you stop responding, their illusion collapses, and so does yours. You realize you weren't afraid of losing them. You were afraid of facing the silence that follows. But that silence is not your punishment. It's your passage out. Stay through it, because once you stop reacting, the world begins to reveal who truly saw you and who only saw what you provided. When you finally stop answering every call, the world shifts. The people who loved your constant presence start to notice your distance, and suddenly they mistake your silence for anger. They don't understand that it's not hostility, it's healing. You're not punishing anyone. You're just reclaiming the space that was never meant to be shared so freely. Jung said that withdrawal is not rejection, but a return of psychic energy to the self. For the first time, your energy starts to flow back toward you, and it feels strange, almost unnatural. You're so used to being drained that fullness feels foreign. The quiet around you thickens, and guilt begins to whisper, "You've changed. You've become cold." But what they call cold is just clarity. When you stop reacting, people reveal who they really are. Some will respect your boundaries. Others will vanish, taking with them the illusion that their closeness was ever unconditional. You'll want to chase after them, not because you miss them, but because you miss being understood. Don't. Stay in the stillness long enough, and you'll see what most people never do. That absence is not emptiness, it's alignment. The world cannot respect what you don't protect. And when you stop being constantly available, you stop being taken for granted. You start being seen. That's the paradox. When you disappear from everyone's noise, your presence finally begins to mean something. And if you can stay through the discomfort, through the silence and the misunderstanding, the next part will show you what this withdrawal truly unlocks. A kind of strength that doesn't shout, but radiates. Imagine your life as a grand theater, every wall lined with faces you once tried to please. For years, you've stood beneath the lights, performing the same role. The reliable one, the listener, the healer, the one who keeps the show going when everyone else forgets their lines. The audience claps, and that applause feels like love. You bow, smile, repeat. Night after night, curtain after curtain. And somewhere between the laughter and the exhaustion, you begin to mistake performance for purpose. The warmth of the spotlight tricks you into believing you belong there. But beneath the heat, your skin starts to burn. One evening, something inside you breaks in silence. There's no dramatic music, no final bow. You simply stop. You drop the script mid-line. You step back. The lights fade. The seats creak as the audience shifts in confusion. "What happened?" they whisper. But you've already left the stage. You walk behind the curtain where it's cold, where the air smells like dust and unfinished stories. The noise fades into an ache, and for the first time, you hear the echo of your own breath. At first, it feels unbearable. The quiet, the emptiness, the echo of your own absence. You can still hear their voices calling, "Where did you go?" The temptation to run back is almost physical. Your chest tightens, your throat wants to explain, but you stay still. You listen. And in that stillness, something miraculous happens. The applause that once defined you fades, and in its place comes another rhythm, slower, steadier, ancient. The sound of your heartbeat. The stage was never your home. It was your mirror. Every act, every smile, every self-sacrifice was a reflection of what you thought love required. But love doesn't demand performance. It demands presence. And presence can't exist under a spotlight that blinds you to yourself. You realize now that those who only loved you on the stage never loved you at all. They loved the role. And when you step away, the role dies, but the soul is reborn. Jung said individuation begins when the persona collapses, when the mask shatters, and the soul stands naked before itself. That's this moment. It's terrifying and sacred all at once. You're not lost, you're unscripted. And while everyone else wonders where you've gone, you finally know where you are. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to stay under the light. It's to walk into the dark and let your own glow find you. After you leave the stage, the quiet feels endless. There are no more cues, no one calling your name, no urgent roles to fill. Just space. And at first, that space feels cruel, like exile. But it's not exile, it's initiation. You're entering the part of the journey most people avoid, sacred solitude. The world will tell you this is loneliness, but it's not. Loneliness is longing for connection outside yourself. Solitude is discovering connection within. Here, you start noticing details that never had time to exist before. The sound of rain on your window, the way morning light touches the walls, the strange calm that comes when you stop explaining yourself. You begin to see that you were never as invisible as you thought. You were just surrounded by noise too loud to hear your own presence. Jung said that the soul needs withdrawal, not to escape life, but to recover from it. And in this silence, you start meeting parts of yourself that never got a chance to speak. The anxious one, the tired one, the honest one. You learn to sit beside them instead of silencing them. There is peace here, but not the kind you imagined. It's not blissful, it's real. It's the kind that hums beneath the ache, steady and alive. Don't rush this part. Because before you return to the world, you must first learn how to sit with the one person you've always left waiting, yourself. Eventually, the silence begins to breathe again. It no longer feels like a wall between you and the world, but a window, clean, wide, open. You look out and see everything with new eyes. The noise of the past hasn't disappeared, but now it moves around you instead of through you. You start noticing how the energy of a room changes depending on your presence, and how powerful it is when you no longer feel the need to fill it. You stop rushing to fix, to prove, to comfort. Instead, you begin to witness. Jung said that when a person integrates their shadow, they no longer live as a fragment, but as a whole being. That's where you are now, whole enough to meet life on equal ground. People start to notice something different in you. They can't quite name it. Some call it peace, others call it distance. But you know it's neither. It's alignment. You no longer orbit around others' emotions, nor do you run from them. You can stand in another person's storm and remain dry because you've learned that compassion doesn't require absorption. This is what returning looks like. Not a dramatic re-entry, but a soft rejoining of the world on your own terms. You still love deeply, but now it's love without leakage. You still listen, but your silence no longer feels like submission. It's discernment. And for the first time, connection doesn't drain you. It restores you. You begin to attract people who move at your pace, who speak from presence rather than panic. These are the ones who have met themselves too. They don't need you to save them. They just want to walk beside you. And in that shared stillness, something sacred returns: trust. You understand now that individuation was never about isolation. It was preparation, learning to return to others without abandoning yourself. You don't need to be invincible. You just need to be congruent. The world hasn't changed much, but your position in it has. You're no longer a character in someone else's play. You're the author of your own rhythm. And sometimes, when you meet someone who truly sees you, it feels like a soft echo of the person you used to be. But this time, you don't dissolve. You stay. You remain whole. And if you're still here, still breathing through this moment, stay through the end. Because what follows isn't a closing scene. It's the life that begins when you finally learn to stand in peace and call it home. Wholeness isn't an idea. It's a practice, quiet, consistent, often invisible to everyone but you. It begins each morning when you choose not to rush into the world's noise, when you check in with yourself before checking your phone, when you say no, not to reject, but to protect what you've been rebuilding. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They decide who gets to enter the space you've learned to keep sacred. You no longer owe access as proof of love. You no longer confuse availability with kindness. Start small. Answer when you have energy, not obligation. Give when it expands you, not empties you. Rest before you're forced to. These are not selfish acts. They are self-respect in motion. Jung said that the greatest act of courage is to be yourself in a world that rewards imitation. Every boundary you keep is a quiet declaration that your life is your own. And from that ownership, love finally has room to breathe. At this stage, something subtle yet profound begins to happen. You stop needing peace to look a certain way. You realize it's not silence, not control, not isolation. It's simply the absence of resistance, the moment you no longer fight what is. Jung said that wholeness is not achieved by cutting off the dark parts of the personality, but by integrating them into the light. And now you understand, the very parts of you that once felt inconvenient, too emotional, too sensitive, too much, they were never your weakness. They were the compass pointing you back home. When you stop being available to everyone, you become available to yourself, to your creativity, your intuition, your depth. You see that peace is not passive, it's active awareness. It's standing in a storm and realizing you are the eye, not the wind. It's loving without needing to be chosen, giving without disappearing, listening without absorbing the chaos of others. True maturity isn't detachment. It's presence without absorption. It's being in the world but not consumed by it. And as you live this way, people begin to sense the change, not because you announce it, but because your stillness speaks louder than your effort ever did. You have nothing left to prove, and that's why everything about you feels real. If you've reached this point, know this: peace was never something you had to find. It's what remained once you stopped negotiating your worth. There will come a morning when you wake up and realize that the world no longer pulls at you the way it used to. The noise that once demanded your reaction now moves like wind through an open field, present but powerless. You sit in the same chair, in the same room, but everything feels different. The air is lighter, the silence friendlier. You no longer start your day preparing to please or to perform. You begin it with stillness, a quiet check-in with yourself. What do I need today to remain whole? That question becomes your compass. You notice that life starts to respond differently when you stop moving from guilt and start moving from truth. You don't chase conversations, yet the right ones find you. You don't explain your boundaries, yet they are felt. You don't demand love, yet love begins to recognize you, the real you. Jung said that when you bring what is unconscious into light, fate turns into freedom. And that's what this is. Not a new identity, but freedom from every identity you ever had to maintain. The world may still misunderstand your calm. They'll say you've become distant, detached, hard to reach. But you'll smile, because you know they're mistaking peace for coldness, discernment for distance. You haven't gone anywhere. You've simply come home. And home isn't a place or a person. It's a state of being, a quiet sovereignty that can't be taken, only lived. You walk through your days with that soft authority now, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything. Every gesture carries intention. Every pause holds power. And as evening falls, you find yourself grateful, not for the things that stayed, but for the ones that left. Their absence gave shape to your truth. You finally understand that peace isn't the reward for fixing everything. It's what arises when you stop treating yourself as a problem. So, tonight, do something simple. Turn off the noise. Sit in the dim light for 5 quiet minutes. Let your breath become your prayer. Let the silence do what words never could. Remind you that you were never meant to be everywhere, only here. Thank you for walking through this with me, for daring to hold your silence long enough to meet the person beneath the noise. If these words found you in the middle of your own return, stay close, because what comes next isn't louder, it's deeper. It's the life that begins when you finally stop apologizing for being whole.